Hey everybody, welcome to another edition of Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I have a returning guest, Vit Jedlicka, coming in, the president of Liberland, coming in from Czech Republic. He's government in exile right now. For people who watched our last episode on Anarchast, he started up the first anarcho-capitalist country in the world, in between Serbia and Croatia. That's been an ongoing land dispute ever since. They've had a number of people thrown in jail by the Croatian government, and we actually haven't caught up to him in quite a while, so I wanted to get him on and see what's going on with Liberland. I was over in Europe over the summer, met a lot of Liberlanders, all amazing people, really passionate people, and a lot of them are coming to Anarchapulco, including Vit, so really looking forward to seeing a lot of them here in Acapulco on February 19th to 21st. So Vit, Mr. President, how are you, sir?
I'm great, and I'm really looking forward to Anarchapulco, actually. And Niklas, you know, the guy that has been on the project with us from very beginning as kind of our Swiss banker, is also coming. I'm also very much looking forward to see him as well. You know, so, you know, we've got a winter now in Liberland, so it's pretty good time to go to these events, if they're in Mexico especially.
Yeah, absolutely. So give us an update. I haven't heard from you in a while. What's going on with Liberland?
We have a new government, and I'm very, very excited about them. I think we picked the very best people from the group that we could have. We've got now 70 offices operational around the world. We've got far better representation than many well-recognized countries do have. And we are actually getting closer to the diplomatic body that Croatia has itself. We've got some 10 consulates in the United States, and they're all pretty well functioning organizations. So I think we made a lot of progress in terms of the organization. This is one of the aspects of the statehood, right? And of course, we are making progress on the ground. We've got a full-time diplomatic mission in Serbia and in Croatia. We've got actually representative of a rather large investment company down in Zagreb and in Belgrade talking to the politician. And we are going to have elections in Serbia in 2 months. And we were just today, we heard the names of the new government in Croatia. So both countries had a change in the government, and it's now time for us to promote Liberland seriously in the region and to sell it to them.
Great. I'm going to ask you more about the progress and what's ahead for Liberland, but before we get to that, there's going to be a lot of anarchists in the YouTube comments down below saying you can't be an anarchist or an anarcho-capitalist and have a country and have a government like you're doing. How would you respond to them?
Well, we always started this project as a minarchist project, so we said we are going to take care of security, justice, and we are going to take care of diplomacy, all these three things. But of course, you know, there's lots of anarcho-capitalists coming down to the project. I'm myself anarcho-capitalist, and I believe, you know, we can even go further in many aspects. But in order to be recognizable, we need these three elements to secure from very beginning. But now there is a very strong ongoing debate about how much of a competition can we allow to our state in terms of providing security and in terms of providing justice. And my vice presidents, one of them from US, one of them from Paris, Pierre-Louis, they share together a very strong belief that we should provide the possibility to compete with Liberland justice system and with Liberland security system from day one. So we will be the first movers who will be providing that service, but we believe that we can also allow other security agencies to step in.
That's great. So in the world today full of fascist and socialist governments, dictatorships and democracy and all these anti-freedom sort of things and massive governments all over the place, this what you're trying to do is the very smallest government possible at the very beginning, and it's mostly you're an anarcho-capitalist and many of the people involved are anarcho-capitalists, so that's why I support what you're doing. You know, it's never going to be easy trying to do these sort of things. It's definitely very revolutionary in terms of how you're trying to do it. I've never seen anyone do it quite this way. and also have the success you've had. You, as you pointed out, you've got embassies or diplomats or whatever you want to call them all over the world for Liberland. You're actually in talks with all these other governments. So tell people, for people who don't know much about Liberland, because the first time we had you on, we had so many people who said they wanted to move there right away. Tell them just where the status of it is right now. Obviously, they probably shouldn't just go to the land right now. Is that correct?
Well, not of course with consulting us, because it is of course very touchy subject, and we don't want to make any big problems in the territory. But the matter of the fact is that Croatia still recognizes that this piece of land belongs to Serbia, and that Serbia already said that it is not their piece of land, and they don't mind creation of Liberland on this territory, which was a very strong statement only 11 days after we started the country. And we are still, enjoying the benefits of that. We do have a kind of a silent support from Serbia for Liberland, and we are trying to multiply it. And we have a strong belief that with the new government, which is much more pro-liberty than the past one, which was rather socialist one, we have much better chance to sell it to the establishment in Croatia as well. But the situation stays. This place is treated like a Serbia territory by Croatians, and Serbians don't claim this territory. So this is the status today. We still have got some 50 policemen around the territory, basically protecting our borders. We don't have to pay for our border guards now. We are enjoying the benefit of having Croatia police there, that nobody else can claim this territory or can fight with us. And we are going to have a very big celebration there on 13th of April, and the following weekend we are going to have at least 500 people coming down and enjoying the celebration of the first year of existence of Liberland. And of course it will be a nice event. We will have lots of scholars coming down, lots of activists. And I think it may be one of those occasions where we will be able to kind of settle this place. But we don't want to push it. We don't want to make troubles. We would really like to show the world what we are up to. This is why we have a large architectural competition. The very well-known architects from Zaha Hadid, for example, are taking lead in that, in organizing it. And we've got now 75 studios that are working on the future look, on the future visualization of Liberland. So we will have visualization, we will have set of laws, we will have a very straightforward roadmap how we are going to develop the country and who will invest it, which is very important. So I'm at the stage when I'm trying to put everything kind of in a virtual space to be able to sell it to the government, especially the Croatian government.
Right. In your wildest dreams, if things go how you would hope let's just say over the next year or two, what would you, if that could actually happen that way, what would you expect to see? Would you expect to see the Serbian and Croatian governments both recognize Liberland, you starting to put in some infrastructure, starting to raise investment, have people start moving there? Is that all a possibility?
Well, to be honest, we are not too much pushing for the recognition itself. The international also says, you don't have to have international recognition in order to be a country. We kind of have to have a silent consent. We have to have full control over this territory to be able to start developing there. But this is one aspect of the state, right? The other aspect, and what makes nation a nation, is actually belief of the people that there is a nation and belief of the people that there is a country. There is no other aspect about it in the reality, right? So what we have created is not only the idea that there is a Liberland in this place, but we already created a kind of new nation on this planet. And this is something that cannot be undone. All these people that applied for citizenship, I think 60–70% of them share the values that we believe in. So we became the largest libertarian / anarcho-capitalist group on this planet, which in itself has a great value. And I think actually taking control over this territory will come just as a byproduct of our organization, of our self-promotion, and of our skills that will sell the country.
Yeah, it's all fascinating. That's why I've loved this from the very start and covered it from the very start and met you in Europe this summer. And you're coming, as I mentioned, with many other Liberlanders to Anarchapulco, which will be great. What would you say to those out there who say, okay, so you're going to start a country with a very minimal government? That's exactly what the U.S. did in the 1700s. Do you have any fears or concerns that it will turn into a giant, overarching, oppressive government over time?
First of all, our constitution that we have, and that our justice minister, a guy who studied London School of Economics and his specialization was actually constitutional law, Kats Prezajac, prepared, is very strong, right? It's probably 10 times stronger than the American Constitution. And the American Constitution was a good work. I mean, it was able to keep government pretty minimal in the United States for around 200 years. So we believe the one way is that, one way is that we have a very strong constitutional republic that will make sure that the government stays small for as long as possible. And if you read our constitution, it also says, the government should do only this and this and this and that. And, just to make sure that it doesn't go bad, as for example in the United States, we are also going to note down all the things we shouldn't do. And I think it's very strong in all these things that are written there, and it's making sure that it will not be able to also change the constitution, because you will have to have unanimous decision by the parliament of Liberland in order to change the constitution, which will be pretty hard. And there are some other concepts now, some totally new concepts how to govern a country, which might make it a little bit harder for the other states to recognize it, which will get rid of some of the aspects of the democracy which we see are not that good for the societies. And I'm just reading a very nice book, Beyond Democracy, which kind of helps me also to put my things together. And we are kind of solving, I think, some of the questions were not on the table any time in the history. I might be wrong just because I didn't study enough. But I think, some of the concepts that we are coming up with regarding the new government and regarding the organizational structure of the state are quite new ideas, which I think will be worth doing some big convention or some big conference on, and have all these proposals being laid out before we actually vote on the final constitution. So I'm looking forward to that. I hope that there will be some big American university hosting that event. I already got some offers for that. And I hope you will also take part in that debate.
Yeah, I'd love to be a part of it. It'll be fascinating. And as you pointed out, in the U.S., it did start out small. It did sort of last for a few hundred years. It wasn't perfect at all. They had all kinds of Alien Sedition Act and the whiskey tax and all these sort of things. But it was still generally a very, very small government until the 20th century, when it really started to blow up, especially after the Federal Reserve in 1913. So it is very interesting to take a look at the U.S. and where it is now. And of course, they have a constitution as well, but no one listens to it anymore. And that's one of the things, too, isn't it? And you brought that up earlier, is that countries are really just a belief. It's just an idea. The state is more just a idea than anything. It's not anything real. And if people do sort of believe in this idea, it sort of has this sort of a thing to it. So it's really about the people. And I think they said that quite a bit back when they founded the U.S. in the 1700s, is how that if people ever stop caring about liberty, or if they ever take their eye off of this thing, it will get out of control. The government will get out of control. And many of the founding fathers even said you have to, something about shed blood on the tree of liberty or something along those lines. I always butcher quotes. And I think they said like every 15 years you have to do that. But this is a totally different time.
The tree of liberty must be,
Yeah, that's right. The tree of liberty.
Watered by the blood of tyrants. Yeah, I like that quote.
There you go. Yeah, I'm brutal at quotes. I always get them wrong. So it is very interesting to see. This is a totally different time as well. Of course, 1700 is very different than 21st century. We have all this technology now. We wouldn't even know each other if it wasn't for this. We can connect so much easier. We can expand ideas so much faster. things like Bitcoin you already have a national currency if you want Bitcoin. Let me ask you about that. What's your take on national currency?
We don't have a national currency. We might start issuing some kind of a currency ourselves, but we are never going to make it a monopolistic currency. We already introduced a merit system, so whoever does something for Liberland which is beneficial, he can claim merits for it. And if he sends money, he gets the merits automatically. If he does something in terms of diplomacy or PR or anything else, he gets the merits. Those are basically shares, or this currency is backed by the value of the country, all the project that we are making now. And this is another aspect which I think is great. We've got all these leaders in the Bitcoin industry now trying to help us to make this kind of singularity in the state administration. And I think this is one of the missions of Liberland, also to push that forward. So we've got, for example, Adam, who is the founder of Follow My Vote project, and it's a Bitcoin-based voting system which is completely transparent. It could be used for presidential elections already in United States. So they're going to run it as a kind of a test. They will have a parallel voting for president with that kind of system. But all these new technologies that are connected to the blockchain or Bitcoin can have a very strong impact on the administration of state. So it can be the land registry, the birth registry, the citizen registry, whatever. Maybe it can completely even change the judicial system. And now we've got Ethereum. I don't know how many of the listeners have heard about the project, but there are people who can see that Ethereum can be used as a completely new way how to transparently govern a country in an anarcho-capitalistic fashion.
Yeah, there's so many different new things coming out, like Ethereum, and of course Suzanne Tarkowski-Tempelhoff, a past two-time Anarchast guest, with BitNation, different ways of governance through the blockchain, all fascinating stuff. It's going to be really interesting to see this develop. This could be just absolutely fascinating to watch develop. And so as anarchists, so we often get asked a number of things. We get asked, well, without government, how would we have roads? Which is so ridiculous. I don't think we even need to answer that one at this time. But another big one, though, that we always get asked is, if we had an anarchist place, what would keep other countries from attacking it and taking it over? So what's your answer to that?
First of all, we hope that our neighbors are kind of a decent neighbors, and we will not have such a troubles in the future, as long as there is a strong trade between our countries. So I don't think it will be a major issue, and I think we can be just like one of these countries which doesn't have actually an army, and there are around 10 of them on the world which simply don't have any army. But on the other hand, of course, we realize if there is such a threat, we believe that we are able to fundraise for most of these things on a voluntary basis. We believe that the society itself is possible to be really based on total voluntary exchange. So even if there was some need for some kind of security beyond the normal, let's say, sheriffs or something like that, that people would be able to put the money together to arrange that in order to arrange collective security, but not on an obligatory basis, but on a voluntary one. Because we believe that we are able to keep the state very small. If you think about the expenses connected with diplomacy, and those are the things that we are fully engaged now in, we believe that it shouldn't take more than 1% of GDP. If you're talking about the security, it shouldn't take also more than 1% of GDP. And the justice also should be probably around 0.5% of GDP if there is already some competition on the market in that regard, and people doesn't turn just to state, but they will turn to all these other agencies that will actually run these kind of systems for profit. So, if you add maybe some more money to security, let's say 1% of GDP, in a country which has a GDP of billions of dollars, a small one like Liberland, possibly in future, the security issue shouldn't be that much of a deal. And we are already actually in talks with some American security agencies that would be able to help us with securing the borders.
Private
for
agencies,
a decent price, yeah, private agencies, of course.
Okay, good. Yeah, I hope you're not in talks with the CIA and things like that. That'd be bad.
But you know, they write quite commonly about us. You know, do you know what the last report about Liberland said? It's a couple of months ago, but you know, they said that the chances for the existence of Liberland are higher than zero. And just the fact that they bother to write about us is quite encouraging. And
I wasn't aware of that. That is interesting.
Yeah, and you know what? The fact that they write that it is higher than zero, if they are right about it, you know, what does it also mean? That there is endless ways how to make Liberland happen, which is also quite encouraging, right?
Yeah, very interesting. And to go back to the self-defense sort of argument, and this is a big one, and it's mostly always Americans who bring this one up. Americans have been brainwashed and indoctrinated for decades that the world's a dangerous place and everyone's always attacking everyone else, and if you don't have this giant military, someone else is going to come in and take you over. But I don't think that's realistic at all, and especially in the 21st century. I guess maybe hundreds of years ago, it might have made some sense for someone to come and take over a place. But today, most of the value in places, especially in Liberland as it grows, is just going to be intellectual capital. It's going to be the value of the people there and the skills they provide and things like that. The value of the actual land itself is not all that valuable. It's a very small piece of land, and obviously it hasn't even been claimed by Serbia or Croatia in a long time, so it's not that important. So this idea that if you don't have this big security, you're just going to get taken over, I don't think that's a very realistic worry. And you pointed out there is numerous governments in the world that don't have standing armies. The U.S. isn't supposed to have a standing army. That was one of the things in the original founding of the country that's gone to the wayside. But places like Costa Rica and Iceland, very, very nice places, actually great places, don't have any army whatsoever, and they seem to be doing fine. So it definitely answers that question.
There is another interesting aspect about it. I think we are the best protected country in the world. If you now throw an atomic bomb to Liberland territory, probably only 50 Croatian policemen will die. So you know, there is also this great thing that Liberland is in this stage when it's very hard to attack it, both militarily, ideologically. And whenever there is somebody, you know, going to debate me in the Czech television or in some mainstream media, they have a really tough time, you know, both arguing that the Liberland doesn't exist as a nation, if there are all these thousands of people that applied for citizenship, and also ideologically, right? It's like, you know, you believe there must be obligatory educational system, okay, it's fine with you. If you believe there must be obligatory healthcare system, that's fine, you know, let us try it. What's the problem with it, you know? You don't have to fight me for, I just want to try a different system that you believe in. And some of the socialists even tell me, yeah, why not? You know, I'm a socialist here in London. I believe there should be a strong government. But I also believe in your project that you should be able to actually try the liberty, how it works in your society, which is kind of great. We've got a lot of people from the Labour Party as well.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. Give liberty a chance, John Lennon, give peace a chance. That's all we're really asking, isn't it? Just let us try it. And you've created an opportunity for us to try it here, and that's why I'm so excited about it. So why don't you let us know anything else going on with Liberland, and also let people know how they can get involved, how they can support you, anything that you want them to know.
Well, we are still in the stage when we are kind of organizing ourselves, and of course any kind of help that you can think of. I mean, programmers, people that have diplomatic connections, people that help us with the organization or structuring of the project itself, because I think we are about 80% done with that, but we still have some 20% left. And we are talking about, you know, issuing the shares on blockchain for Liberland. We are talking about kind of selling the property on Liberland as well with that system, kind of also the governmental structure. So all these things are appreciated at this stage, and I have a very good group of people who are on me on the project now. But I would like this group to be maybe even twice that big. Maybe, you know, there are 50 people that are very close to the project now. Why that couldn't be 100 and have more discussion about that to enlarge that inner cycle of Liberland? And then there is a single organization in every single bigger country. And if there is not one in your country or your state in the United States, please feel very welcome to help us build it, because we are building one of the strongest organizations in the world. And if you're going to be the leader of in your own region, it will also give you a large access to contacts in that sense, and you will find lots of friends. So it's also funny when I take a look at some of my friends' profiles, and I can see that most of the likes that they get and most of the interaction that they get from the outer world doesn't come from their old friendship, but from the new friends that they made with Liberland.
Yeah, I highly recommend Anarchist or even minarchist, but they're probably not watching, but Anarchists get involved in any way they can with Liberland. I enjoyed just knowing you and watching the progress and meeting a lot of the people, and for people coming to Anarchapulco, Vit will be there and many others will be there, and you'll really see these guys are passionate. This is not just something they're doing as a hobby. They really want to make this happen, and they're really working hard at it. So it's just great to watch. I don't think it's even a year old yet, is it?
It's not, and we are going to celebrate 1 year of existence in Liberland. If we are not going to be able to get to the land itself, we will celebrate in Liberlandian waters, which are freely accessible because it's international waterway. We've got Danube River, which is 600 meters wide, where we can have a really big party, and we will have lots of conferences, lots of interesting people coming down there. So if you have a time, please feel free to come for the celebration. We will help you to arrange the flight, maybe I will help you with some accommodation there. So just get in touch with us.
Yeah, that's great. Really looking forward to seeing you here at Anarchapulco. I'm sort of daydreaming here, not daydreaming, but dreaming a little bit about the future, dreaming of the next Olympics, not in Brazil, but wherever the next one is the announcers all announcing, and now the flag bearer of the country of Liberland, the Anarcho-Capitalist.
You're joking about it, but it's becoming reality now. We are applying for that, and there is one runner that wants to represent us. He's already qualified for Olympic Games, and he wants to represent us. You know, it's coming, and we've got a really strong football team, and it will play with Monaco probably next summer. So, you know, all these things are becoming reality, and it's kind of great.
Yeah, that's great. I'd just love to see how the announcers on NBC, it's the country of Liberland, the Anarcho-Capitalist breakaway state that believes in total freedom, and their athletes. Of course, I'd like to see the the opening ceremonies last for years and years and actually be 7 billion different governments. But until we get to that point, I'm looking forward to seeing Liberland fly its flag and come out there. And I hope to be a citizen of Liberland as well. I definitely hope to consider you all my countrymen at some point here in the next couple of years. So absolutely super exciting, fascinating. If you're an anarcho-capitalist or anarchist out there, you got to just check out what they're doing. You have to, if you want to, get involved. It's been really, as Vit pointed out, it's a great way to meet other people as well. Almost all of them are anarchists. I haven't met any who haven't been so far. I'm sure there is some that are minarchists, but it's mostly people who believe in true freedom. So it's really exciting. So really looking forward to seeing you here, Vit. So people who don't know, Anarchapulco, February 19th to 21st, right out here on the beach behind me. It's going to be crazy. Every day, it's where there's more and more people coming, more and more speakers, more events. It's going to be awesome, and really looking forward to seeing Liberland represented here. And I think you have your Liberland Mexican embassy coming as well. Is that right?
Yeah, we'll have 3 folks from our Mexican embassy down there. So it's going to be a great time, and I will travel to Venezuela after that, and after that I will visit United States again. So I'm looking forward. It's going to be an exciting time.
Yeah, it's the only country I'm going to allow come to Anarchapulco, obviously, and representatives of that country. It's the only country I support. Yeah, great stuff. Really looking forward to seeing you. So if you check out Anarchapulco, by the way, flights and look really cheap to Mexico at Acapulco right now. I don't know if it's the drop in oil prices or just a stagnating economy, but I've seen some crazy cheap flights. So if you're thinking you wanted to go but you can't afford it, check the flights again. As well, if you book your flight through Expedia to Acapulco, I've seen hotel rates at the Grand Hotel where the conference is for as low as $40 a night when you book it with a flight. So check that out. Hope to see, well, there's going to be hundreds. I hope to see hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people. It's going to be maybe even 1,000 people here. It's going to be exciting and awesome and a great time on the beach in Acapulco, Mexico. So I'd like to thank Vit very much for coming in. And that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
See, our problem is we address symptoms all the time. We want to address the homelessness, we want to address the wars, we want to address the oil spills, we want to address the CSG, we want to address all these different issues. But they're all symptoms of legislation that's been put in place which has allowed these companies to rape the earth. And this legislation is put in place because we're disunited, we're not paying attention, and we believe our governments are our rulers when they're actually our employees.
In 1972, I watched my cousin, who was 25 at the time, die a horrible death from cancer. And then about 3 years later, when I was leaving, I worked at a hospital, and when I was leaving work that day, there was an announcement come on the radio. The announcer was laughing like a fool, but he was stating that a research study that had been done in the U.S. had proved that THC, the active ingredient in marijuana, which I prefer to call cannabis, had been found to kill cancer cells.
From Acapulco, Mexico, this is Anarchast.